previous video, we started creating a WordPress theme. Now, we're ready to create the body of our site. First, I'm going to take all the HTML from our existing site and paste it into our index file. I'll go through and explain all of this, but if you're following along, you might want to pause for a second and download the code from the previous video if you haven't already done so. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this HTML right here. And here is our index file for our theme, and I'm just going to paste it in just like that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and strip out all of the content because all of that will be filled in dynamically with PHP. All we want to establish is a basic structure here. So first, we're going to delete everything out of the title here, and we don't need anything in the header here. And we're going to clean up one of these posts, so it's just a div with a post and an h3, and we're going to actually delete the rest of our posts because we don't need those, and I'll explain why in just a second. And for our sidebar, we just need the div tags for the opening and closing there, and same with our footer, we just need the opening and closing div tags there. And there's a lot of white space that we can delete here, so we'll just go ahead and clean this up a little bit, just like that. And there we have it. Now that we've stripped everything out, we should end up with something like this. So let me spend a little bit explaining what we have so far and what the overall plan is here. When we're coding a website, especially a WordPress theme, we want the markup to be as clean as possible. The more stuff you have, the more complex your site becomes as you introduce dynamic elements, widgets, plugins, and so on. You want your base skeleton to be as simple as you think you can get away with. Now, each one of these div tags is going to act like a container that will be filled out with dynamic content. For example, the H1 and H2 up at the top here will contain the site title and the site tagline. The content area right here is probably what we're most interested in though. This will be where the loop that we were talking about earlier will actually occur. We only have a few tags here because we'll be filling it with dynamic content and then looping over this area several times for each post. We'll be adding more tags as we go along, but this will give us a good start. The next step is to split the skeleton up amongst our various template files. Then we need to include those templates back into this file. If you've never done this type of thing before, it might seem a little bit counterintuitive at first just to re-include them back in, but this technique will help keep our code clean and maintainable. So first, we'll go ahead and start with the header. So everything that comes before the content div there, we want to go ahead and cut, and we'll switch over to the header here and paste it in, and we'll save that file. And then everything that comes before the sidebar here, we want to go ahead and cut, and we want to open our footer file and paste it in just like that. And we'll save that, and we'll clean up some of the white space in our index file. And we'll go ahead and fix the tabbing there. And now we need to re-include our header and footer back into our index template here. So right before the content div, we want to go ahead and open up a PHP tag. And we want to type the get header function and end it with a semicolon. And then right after our sidebar, we want to go ahead and put in the get footer function. Now, these are PHP functions that in WordPress are called template tags. It's probably a good idea to quickly test this out before we go ahead and call this task completed. So let's put some text in our header, index, and footer files. So I'll just go ahead and say body text here. And in our footer, we'll go ahead and say footer text. And in our header, we'll just fill in one of these H1s and we'll say header text. And when we switch over to our browser and we go ahead and activate our theme, which looks like is already activated, and we hit refresh, you can see that it looks like we're ready to move on. We have our header, body, and footer all being included properly. Now that we have some HTML to build on, we're ready to start focusing on individual templates. In the next video, we'll build out the header and the footer.